All right, I've seen the first 2 episodes of Kenobi, or Obi-Wan Kenobi, the D Plus series, and I'm going to get in some amount of spoilers. I'm just going to kind of bounce around, talk about the positives and the negatives, and that's how I'll handle it. Well, kind of a spoiler in this instance, in that at least some of the spoilers, or the leaks rather, that came out earlier on, and this is only 2 episodes in, appear to be true. So I'm guessing pretty much all the leaks were true, which is not good. So the positives, all right, let me just go through that. The positives is the big positive is Ewan McGregor. He's good. He's good in the role. He's a good actor. He has command of his character, even in this rather sad and depressed a moment in Obi-Wan's life, which is understandable considering the circumstances that he's in and would be in that story. This is 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, so he's been working a crappy job on Tatooine and all that sort of stuff. That's all fine as far as that goes. He's one of the positives. You get another familiar face in there, and he's fine. Although sure is starting to show his age. That's Jimmy Smits playing Val Grana, and gee, he looked younger in Rogue One. I wonder what. But what anyway, we're all gonna go there. So, but he's fine in this, even though the purpose of his character here and the plot for the series, it has a lot of flaws in it. But he's fine, and they've cast a little girl to be Princess Leia, which gets into one of the first spoilers as far as the leaks go, that there was going to be some problem with Leia, and Obi-Wan would have to leave Tatooine to save her. And that's 100% true. That's pretty much the plot as detailed in the first 2 episodes. The first episode, it drags a bit, kind of doing repetitive things about where Obi-Wan is. And since this was based on what was supposed to be a movie, and I don't know how different, apparently there were different versions and whatnot that they abandoned and tried something else, so what have you. I don't know when they finally decided it was going to be a series instead, for only 6 episodes. So it looks like something that's being stretched out to fill that amount of episodes, when probably should have just left it as 4 episodes, you know. Yeah, whatever. So yeah, Ewan McGregor's good. The little girl they've cast is okay. For a little kid, you know, she does pretty good. It's just some of the scenes they do that require some amount of action just doesn't work at all. That's not the little girl's fault. That's the fault of the director and anybody else setting up the scene and not making use of the environment that you've created there to be framing devices and whatnot, and where you can insinuate the action without having to see it. Because you can't show it because, you know, it's a little girl. You don't want to get her in any kind of harm there, you know, running around in the woods and stuff. So it just comes across really bad. But basically, the spoilery thing is she gets kidnapped, is held from ransom by these criminals. And turns out the criminals were hired by Reva, one of the Inquisitors that's made all the news recently for all the wrong reasons. And she's trying to she believes she can find Obi-Wan. Of course, she's right, at least knowing that he's still alive, and that she senses he's near and all that, and that drawing him out by endangering Leia is the way to do it. And of course it works. Obi-Wan's reluctant to do this because his main mission was to watch over Luke, but now something has, you know, Leia's the one that's in danger. And so he decides at the end of the first episode, all right, I'm going to go dig up the lightsaber and head over there, and all of that. Which in and of itself, I suppose is fine. It's just, it's not like there's a definitive bit of dialogue in the original trilogy that shows that he never met Leia, but it kind of sounds like he'd never met Leia. And she talks about her father knowing him and that her father sent her to find him and all this type of stuff. But is it that big of a deal? Probably not as big as the if there's going to be this actual a duel between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, which, you know, the New Hope seems to indicate that there hasn't been one since he turned, since Revenge of the Sith. So you say, there's wiggle room there and that sort of thing. So I guess it's not that, extreme of a problem. It's continuity wise anyway. But yeah, but you can't help, because of the current era, is that, you couldn't do an adventure with Luke because he's a boy. So, one of the things I thought they could have done was that Luke and Uncle Owen have to go off-world for some reason, and Obi-Wan's forced to follow them just in case, and then, of course, things happen. Wouldn't want a story where Luke and Leia meet as kids. Wouldn't want that. That absolutely cannot happen. But I suppose he could have done a story where they almost do, but they don't, and that sort of thing. Whatever. But as far as the positives goes, that's about it. The little girl's okay, and her smart aleck attitude is very much in keeping with the personality of Leia. Some people might read that the wrong way, I think, but I don't think that's fair. I think that is in keeping with her character and all that sort of thing as we first meet her in New Hope and all that. So she gets kidnapped. Obi-Wan rescues her, and they're on the run. And by the end of the second episode, they escape seemingly to safety. We don't know yet, but they managed to do. They go from Tatooine to this Blade Runner planet, which actually looks a little better than how they shot Tatooine. And they've been spending so much time on Tatooine, probably because they see that as something cheaper to film. But in the case of Obi-Wan, it makes perfect sense. Now, in the case of Obi-Wan, I suppose some would make the argument that he's depicted as cowardly. There's a Jedi shows up, wants his help, he refuses. But he's got this mission. His main mission is to protect Luke. There are some scenes where he's so depressed and feeling down, and that at first he refuses to help Leia, but it's all about protecting Luke. So it's not like he's totally given up, but his advice to the guy is to hide and don't draw attention to yourself. But apparently he did, so he gets killed and all that. But so far, a lot of this stuff is forgivable depending on where it's going, of course. The more interesting aspects would have been the relationship between Kenobi and Owen, where you only get a brief sentiment of that. And Owen's already pissed off at him, doesn't want him around, and all this sort of stuff, which indicates something's already happened. I would have thought this would be the opportunity that something very serious happens and it nearly endangers Luke, and Owen puts a lot of blame on Obi-Wan and says, stay away, don't want you here, and I don't want Luke going off to be a Jedi and all that, because look what happened to his father. And so that's, but it's already one and done in one scene, and I don't know if there's any more. This is 2 episodes in of a 6-episode series, so there's only 4 more episodes, and Obi-Wan's off on another planet already. So, I don't know. Because that would be the more interesting aspect of the 2 original characters. As far as the Reva character stealing the show, not quite yet. And I suspected we'll probably get some of that. They're making an arc for this character. There is a flashback scene of the Jedi being slaughtered at the temple. We don't see Anakin in it, but we see the stormtroopers. And there's a bunch of kids who seemingly escape. And there's at least 2 little black girls among the students who escape after their teacher gets killed. And you have to assume she's one of them. And that's why she's got such bitterness towards the Jedi. She feels they failed her, abandoned her and her friends. And now she's part of the Inquisitors, who were, these Jedi who've turned to hunt down other Jedi. And we have to assume they're just not as powerful or a threat to Vader and Palpatine, so they'll make use of them, and when they're done, they're done. But on the one hand, she's bitterly angry towards the likes of Obi-Wan, so she's trying to hunt him and for a big prize. But at the same time, it appears she wants to please Darth Vader. That'll help her rise in rank from where she is. But if she's supposed to be this breakout character that's going to steal the show, they've done a terrible job of it. They do a whole scene where she's hunting Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan's caught in a trap. A bunch of bounty hunters are after him in the Blade Runner city, and he's trying to save Leia, and she nearly dies, and he has to use the Force to save her from a fall, and all this stuff's going on. Meanwhile, she's making like Batman jumping over rooftops, and you think, oh, here we go. He's about to have a duel or almost a duel, and he gets away or something like that. No, it's none of that. In fact, the Obi-Wan and Leia problem is resolved. He saves Leia, and they leave. And then they go back to her still bouncing around rooftops and landing and getting nowhere. It just made her look very clumsy and stupid. And you got to look to a lot of her choices here is that she's supposedly outsmarting the Inquisitors, which tells you a lot about them aren't so great. And her crew that she hired to kidnap Leia were pretty stupid. And then she finally gets to confront Obi-Wan, but he's in hiding. He sends Leia on ahead to the ship they're leaving on, and she's trying to lure him out and fight him, and then the Grand Inquisitor shows up. And so she kills the Grand Inquisitor. It's her boss, although it appears, I think, that didn't he die in the Clone Wars cartoon? Unless, of course, he somehow escaped. I think he fell into some fire and stuff, but I don't know. Did he transmit his consciousness into a clone like Palpatine did? It's so stupid. So she kills him, which gives Obi-Wan his chance to get away. So great going, Reva. And she's screaming at him, "You will not get away!" And he just did because of you. It's not too smart. Plus the whole thing about the Inquisitors, that they establish that she's a rebel and she's a problem. They don't like her and they demean her and all this stuff, and that she's the bottom of the barrel. They just grab for extra help and they insult her and everything. But meanwhile, she's showing a tougher hand. In fact, she cuts a woman's hand off trying to get them to give up a Jedi. And she's accompanied by one of the other Inquisitors, and he's like cringing at this. It's like I can understand him being upset. She's not following orders. They want people alive so they can interrogate them. And she's being overly rough and all that sort of thing. And, going above her pay grade on this. So I can understand that. But to have him like, oh, geez. Oh, she cut her hand off. Oh, that's stupid. That doesn't work. So there's a lot of stupid things in it. Primarily, the look of the show is pretty bad. It looks very cheap. Something's wrong. I mean, Boba Fett had the same problem. Mandalorian looked pretty good. It's almost, in a lot of ways, in some scenes, on par with the look of the movies. This one, no, it's not. I mean, when they get to the Blade Runner planet, it's a little better. But, oof, it's pretty bad. And I mean, this ain't just any old Star Wars show. If this was just some silly, like a comedy Star Wars show they wanted to do, it'd probably be fine. But this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and this is what they had to work with, I guess. Because I mean, some of this is getting to CW level looking stuff, which is bad. And then the music. The music is, man, they just can't find anybody to even try to mimic the John Williams style. I know you're not going to be able to be John Williams, but you should at least study it. And Michael Giacchino did a good job for Rogue One, but his pay level's a bit too high now, I guess. So they can't get him to come score a TV series. So this is 2 episodes in. Maybe it'll bounce back. It ends with a scene of Darth Vader in the Bacta tank. Now, this is another thing. Some of these continuity things, Obi-Wan doesn't realize that Anakin's still alive. So Reva tells him this. But the thing is, how does Reva know that Darth Vader is Anakin? Is that well-known knowledge? Then that seems like that would have slipped to Luke Skywalker before Empire. So it was like a lot of people just didn't know that was him. Is how I thought it, but then why does Reba get to know? Unless they're going to do some background story for her and squeeze that into this to where she's trying hard to be Darth Vader's apprentice, because as a Sith, he would be looking for one to help him against Palpatine so that he can be the big bad boss. That's what he was trying to do with Luke, and that she's trying to impress him that way, and that, but would he take her into his confidence or whatever? Or she saw him in the back to tank and recognized him. Boy, I mean, I know they got Hayden Christensen back to play him, but you wouldn't recognize him in that. He had the mask on. He had, the breathing mask while he's sitting in the tank, floating in it. And all that. But, I don't think that works. So yeah, it's just stupid mistakes. But at the moment, so far, it's just stupid mistakes like that, and kind of cheap production value for an Obi-Wan series. But so far, narratively, not quite any kind of destruction of the character. But there's 4 episodes left. And they did this preemptive strike. If you don't like the show for any reason, it means you're racist and that sort of thing. And that's always a bad sign that something's wrong with the show. So far, right now, it looks pretty cheap. And that's a big problem for it. And I think there's these continuity errors in it. And then there's just the choreography of action scenes are bad. And stupid things. And if they're making a big deal about Reva, they didn't really do her any justice either. So, I mean, having her bounce around for no apparent reason, yeah. But again, I guess it's because they don't have the material to make for the full episodes. Maybe cut them down to 20 minutes. I don't know. But it doesn't look good. That's the problem. Could it rebound and surprises and we get some cool scenes and you just have to go with that? Maybe. And that's about as good as it gets. Is it going to be really great and Star Wars is back and all that? No. I no. And it's unfortunate because it's Obi-Wan. So long as Obi-Wan isn't diminished, it won't make much difference going forward. But if he is, I think that's it. You destroy Obi-Wan, and I don't think anyone cares about what other great projects you got in the pipeline. Oh, we're going to get Mara Jade, and well, how are you going to ruin that? That's the only question that comes out of that. I was hoping the Ahsoka Tano show could be a vehicle by which they could correct a lot of the problems, but I don't think they'll do that with it. It might be an okay show, but that's the best you can hope for. And that's about it. So far looks kind of bad. Ewan McGregor's good. Maybe he can carry it, and it'll be just sort of okay.